Let me just say, at this point, it's guaranteed you can't stop Maple. The human firework that we just experienced as a way to signal your friends if you basically aren't in contact with them is probably the most Maple thing I think we've seen this season, which is saying a lot as we did see her ride inside an alligator's mouth and was shooting lasers galore. But there's something about how the show started with a girl who maxed out her defense and just everything that was thrown her way in such a comedy fashion ended up just bouncing off and just stumping at the game devs as what are we seeing. And to see her after being separated from everyone, we see fireworks in the sky. The natural thought is, oh, you have fireworks? Is that allowed? Well, not really, but when you have a girl who can launch herself up to near space, explode into a firework fashion, and we see all the imprints into the ground of her multiple attempts, and it feels like she just went into a bouncy castle, not got exploded by an RPG, you have to admit, there just is no stopping her at this point, and that is the most Maple thing I think I've seen this season. Now, we do have a bit of bad news, but it's not the worst thing ever. Originally, there was supposed to be no further delays. Episode 11 was supposed to air next week. It has been postponed by an additional week. So basically, this will be episode 11 and 12, basically push one extra week unless they delay any further. Honestly though, still doing better than Uncle from Another World, so not the worst thing ever by any means. But yeah, this was a pretty fantastic episode. In a lot of ways, it just kind of felt like they cranked up the fun factor and they cranked up the game mechanics even more so. And for a show plagued by as many delays as this one has, you wouldn't be able to look at it at a first glance and say, oh, this feels like a show that suffered production issues. No, this one has been carrying off pretty damn strong. Now, I do a full live reaction to today's wonderful Bofuri episode available on my Patreon, so if you don't want to see my full uncut thoughts, you can head on over there and consider supporting, because yeah, I mean, really, if you look at the past month of Bofuri, it's just been peak fun after peak fun. I think there's so many little moments that will easily go overlooked when watching an episode like this, because at face glance, it's a big action episode. The characters have been separated, they group up into new pairings that either we have never seen or pairings we haven't seen in a while, and by the end of the episode, we have the 3 strongest guilds broken up into 4 groups that are all going to go adventuring in different pairings, and that's pretty exciting for the final stretch of the season. But I think there's so many moments where if you play enough video games, and this is what I keep coming back to, it feels like it's written by someone who actually has played a game rather than just trying to write something that panders to a video game crowd. Because when you look at just the variety of the creatures, right, you see imps, you see dragon-looking creatures, you see golems, right? But I think it's the way those creatures go about attacking. So you can think of any game, whether an MMO or you can even look at Soulsborne games. You fight rats, they're not going to do much to you, but the way those simple creatures can overwhelm you is something that can kill you. And we see that in this episode. There's like these flying imps that they are honestly fodder, you can swat them away, but when they gang up on you, you see how it can start overwhelming you. Or the fact that it just feels like every time you look at the pets as an example, they introduce the pet mechanic as like this ally, this kind of like something that would give you a boost, whether it becomes your armor, whether it enhances your abilities so you can do fire attacks. I love the fact that one of the first moments in this episode is seeing how the pets are boosting their skills. So we have like this songbird, right? And every time this girl was basically casting a spell, the bird would then chirp and then the spells would either multiply or they'd get bigger. It's those little moments, right, that really make it feel like, okay, yes, we're just watching a lot of fun action, characters playing a video game. But at the end of the day, it's not just mindless action where they're casting fireballs or they're doing a lightning blast. No, it actually feels like these characters are using mechanics that feel like it was designed to be a video game mechanic. And the fact that we saw like a few dozen characters fight in this episode, some longer than others of course, but the fact that every time you focus on a character it feels like they're fighting in a different way as if, oh, they're actually playing an MMORPG. The fact that they're building their characters to feel very unique. And the fact that the game developers are aware of the fact that they have to make it challenging. They can't make it easy to beat because then you'd get complaints that the final stretch of this event was too easy, but you can't make it impossible. And it was basically going well up until the very end where tower defense got into even more tower defense territory. So they basically had a camera setup, they had a mini-map marker, everything about this is just OP beyond belief. And the fact that, seriously, these poor game devs, it wasn't until Secretary brought it up that the game devs were kind of on their high horse because they're like, you know what, we're making this pretty good. And then they see the 3 strongest guilds in one location and they're all at the tower defense for it. I mean, these poor devs, but bless them for trying. They're trying to balance it, but also trying to give a challenge, and As long as Maple's here, I don't think it's ever going to work out quite as well as they hope. But I mean, this has been a very fun season. Like I've been saying, it feels like when you compare season 1 to season 2, the big difference is that now it's more focused on the side cast as a whole, which isn't a bad thing in the slightest. I think truly, if every episode was trying to do a gator mouth Maple or a firework explosion Maple, the jokes wouldn't hit, right? But they had a good amount so far over these 10 episodes, these moments where you look at her and say, yep, that's the Maple we know and love. But the fact that they actually let the guilds as a whole kind of flourish this season, and they put more emphasis on the pets and the mechanics and the fun factors that can pop up there, it's hard not to have a grin watching this. And it's why I really do hope we get a season 3. I imagine we will, because based on how season 1 performed, I mean, even with delays, this show doesn't seem to be slowing down. So I'm really excited to see the potential because, honestly, the thing that I've grown to appreciate the most out of everything I've seen in this show is actually the game development side of things. That the game devs aren't just there to be the meme of pulling their hair out, how did she do this? They still do that, but the fact that they truly try to counter her. Okay, she exploded a creature from the inside, so let's not give it a stomach next time. Okay, we had too many objects that allowed her to break the game in this way. Let's, tone down the game objects. It really does feel like it's something that's like, okay, this is an ever-growing game. It's always expanding, it has bugs, it has flaws, but the fact that the game developers are looking at it from so many different perspectives, I love seeing them almost every episode. It feels good. It feels good that they're more than just the meme that they kind of were in the first season of pulling their hair out, trying to just figure out how to stump her. Now it actually feels like their game's kind of getting into the right momentum. These events are so cool, and the fact that they're constantly evolving, separating the characters, cutting off their communication, it's just like a little horror-esque. I just love what they're doing, and I wish I could play a game like this. It is just so immersive, and if VR could get to this point in our lifetime, man, would I be a happy camper, and would I be trying to break a game like Maple currently is. But I'm excited. We have 2 episodes to go. They definitely set the stage for an explosive finish, with probably next episode being half of the 2 different sides, see what they're up to, and then the last episode doing the same thing. But even if they sped through the kind of separation and regrouping to then finishing the event is very interesting, and I really like how it's functioned, and I like the concept of the medals, how it gets shared among party members, and why characters would come together. Maple's just, the more the merrier, it's a more fun experience for her. But I love what they're doing so far. It has great game design, even if it's buggy as hell or it can be broken and exploited. I love how this anime actually makes that the center focus alongside the fun action, and watching these friends play a video game we wish we all could play is just always a treat. But thoughts, feelings yourself, favorite moment? I imagine most people's will be the human firework, but if you got any others, definitely let me know down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Be sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and of course, as I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction available on my Patreon, and you can also get video shoutouts as well if that interests you. So, till next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.